Land sustains life. The use of land creates history of nature and people. The history of survival, growth and sustainability. One of the primeval practices that supports human survival is farming. It brought the key civilizational shift from food gathering to food production through agriculture. The first human cultivators cleared land and planted crops in rhythm with the forests that surrounded them. Even today, communities across the world continue this tradition of farming, creating mosaic landscapes with a dynamic balance of managed and natural land covers. This ancient practice of shifting cultivation is commonly known as Jhum in India. Shifting cultivation landscapes cover an estimated 280 million hectares worldwide, including cultivated fields and different stages of fallows. The largest land area is in Africa, followed by the Americas and Asia. India has nearly 1.73 million hectares under shifting cultivation, with an estimated 623,000 families associated with it. 90% of the practice is known to be in northeast India. In this farming system, plots of land are cultivated for a period of time and then left to regenerate while the farmers move to other sections of land for their crops. Traditionally, the cycle of use has been 10 years or more, which allows for sustainable landscape management by communities, especially in remote areas with low population density. This long cycle Jhum practice, evolved over centuries, is seen to have provided sustainable agrobiodiversity, food security, livelihood, and socio-cultural bonding for the practicing communities. In most areas, Jhum communities have successfully managed to balance their cultivation and the health of their community forests for generations.
When we talk shifting cultivation, again the misconception that any shifting cultivation is unsustainable. I think we need to be very clear on that. There are many forms of shifting cultivation. Some are sustainable, some are not, and some are in transition. And so the way the community thinks and makes decisions with regard to sustainability is very different from what others think about the communities.
Local traditions of seed preservation, crop diversity, grain storage, diet and nutrition patterns, in fact, provide a rich and rare legacy of traditional knowledge, agrobiodiversity, and sustainable food security that would otherwise have been lost to commercial cash crops.
Nông đã chỉ đang yêu gì nhỉ? Người ta chỉ kiếm điều điều, làm hết lo ăn cái người ta, bà ta khổ lắm chứ, chỉ lo kiếm lo đau go. Ai chỉ lại chứ, bà chỉ lo thấy chứ.
The forests around the Jhum practicing communities in many areas of northeast India continue to be biodiverse, rich forest tracts managed by the communities themselves. However, the prevalent view of shifting cultivation is that it is destructive and degrades land and forests. The term slash and burn has endorsed this perspective. Some experts feel that Jhum cultivation is primitive and unscientific use of land that depletes forests, water and soil resources. This view may hold true of the short, less than 5 years cycle, a distorted shifting cultivation that has emerged in some areas. This can prove to be unsustainable and needs reform. The traditional long cycle Jhum or shifting cultivation, on the other hand, has been practiced for centuries and is not necessarily seen to be destructive or unsustainable. In fact, new global research challenges the prevalent view of shifting cultivation being destructive, and the Food and Agriculture Organization has suggested the need to re-examine such perceptions.
The perception is changing since pre-independence days, since the colonial period. Shifting cultivation was considered to be a destructive practice. And the policies framed by Britishers and subsequently by the Government of India, they all considered that the shifting cultivation is a destructive practice and this should be stopped. Since we have not been able to stop or even reduce the area under shifting cultivation or reduce the number of families dependent on shifting cultivation, so there are certain things which are contributing to its continuance, and why not to address that? Now people have started thinking that it's not necessary or even required to stop the shifting cultivation, but to modify it and according to Niti Aayog, to transform it and make it more productive, more sustainable.
Jhum cultivation or shifting cultivation is a way of life that has been passed by our foreparents, our ancestors, to our generation. It is a farming system that has been sustaining our communities since time immemorial by providing us food, by adding social, cultural, spiritual meanings to the people of the land. It is a farming system that is known for its diversity. A family can cultivate more than 50 to 60 crops, food crops, in one plot of Jhum cycles. Thus, it provides food, health, and nutritional security.
A recent study by Central Agricultural College, Manipur and ICAR showed that shifting cultivation is not merely an alternative method of farming, but a form of landscape management that is inseparable from the culture and lifestyle of the communities that practice it. Analysis has revealed that the bonding takes 3 forms: nature bonding, attachment to the natural landscape; social bonding, attachment to the local community and traditions; and economic bonding, attachment to the form of livelihood and to the place.
This farming system is practiced by many other indigenous communities across the world. This is an ecological farming system which bonds the people of the land and the natural environment. It is guided by the principles of solidarity, respect, dignity, and equity for the families in the community.
Despite multiple efforts by the states to prevent and transform the practice of Jhum, the practice appears to be deeply embedded in the socio-cultural existence of the communities and is seen to have intergenerational relevance as younger community members imbibe the traditional knowledge and sustainable practice from their elders.
Nó chiêu và nó ăn những cái ăn nó đồng時nó cho kèm khi lại những nó khi lại phụ đều xin này chỉ nó phải trong chỉ nó này đặt phụ lúc chỉ nó ăn như thế sao không được ở đây đó.
While Jhum is intrinsic to community life and sustainability in many parts of northeast India, the tradition is confronting a period of transition due to several reasons. Shorter cycles of distorted Jhum are not sustainable. Jhum is labor intensive. There is a growing shortage of labor for this practice. In some situations, Jhum provides food security but does not ensure financial stability. Sometimes, youth are disconnected with their traditional practices and resources. Their aspiration drives them to migrate or choose other occupations. The pattern of decline in Jhum cultivation in northeast India therefore seems to be associated more with the socio-economic aspirations of Jhum cultivating communities rather than with the environmental concerns that are usually attributed to the practice.
If the shifting cultivation is sustainable or traditional shifting cultivation, it definitely sequesters more carbon than even many of the other land uses, and there are many studies which have showed that traditional shifting cultivation contributes towards the ameliorating, or you can say mitigating climate change.
Rit ki klem along ke ni tum ke long pon ason ke ong dun e pon note ne ke puruita e pon ten birik rosata e pon birik rosa ke athi dulo ponote men lo polonte ipum thom pen inko isigi jor pen birik suta e pon lata ilin along pharuisi mate pharuisi ra inko ipuson si ilin along pen kilong pen han suta e pon là non rit ki pana long pen adang adim thakre po han suta e pon po an han suta ki jor pon lo lina long aning kan ke proxikep progner kep kuson si kilong tasi han suta chuklem pon bom lo hipi bidikta e pon bom lo hipita son adang thak po an nom det po an lata athi pati lo te ilin thong kep thi kep kuson si hipi hai ta chu yor pon bom la si poisa ahin ta la son si kilong dia phan klem pon bom lo.
In the context of policy and governance, shifting cultivation land comes under the agriculture sector during cultivation and under forests during the fallow phase. This has led to ambiguity in the classification of Jhum land as abandoned land, wasteland, and unclassed state forests. This ambiguity has made it difficult for Jhum farmers to access agricultural support services.
What they don't realize is these are the farming practices which provides you food crops around the season, food crops off-season forests which no other farming system will give you, because shifting cultivation should not be looked at only from the cultivation phase of the practice. The fallow phase, which is the forestry phase of shifting cultivation, is another area which people tend to forget. That's an area where a lot of wildlife flourishes. That's an area where a lot of other activities happen. So the views of different institutions have started changing. Hopefully the state governments and the governments will also think more proactively towards trying to understand why farmers are doing this and how can we help farmers, rather than trying to stop farmers from what they are doing.
Efforts to grant recognition to Jhum land are under process. While this policy shift may allow formal recognition of Jhum land and communities, there are concerns regarding the subsequent conversion of land use to commercial cash crops and monoplantations that could lead to the grave loss of ecological balance, traditional agrobiodiversity, and sustainable food and nutritional security.
Monoplantation is it's a permanent form of deforestation, so you've lost the forest cover. It has far fewer species that survive there, so biodiversity is affected. It is also a water guzzling crop. You know, a single oil palm tree requires about 200 to 300 liters of water per day, and streams are diverted to feed these oil palm trees, and you find that streams are drying up and affecting downstream communities as well. So water, impacts on water is a third issue.
The market demand is also playing a crucial role in promoting these kind of monoplantations, which is luring the farmer because he is getting something in cash. So the cash returns is mutilating the mindset of the farmers to a greater extent, and so is the true for the shifting cultivators also. But in this traditional form of shifting agriculture, it was kind. It was never cash. So the economics was very sustainable within closed. But the moment you bring in monocropping systems into this, it is opened up. It is opened up to market.
You also have the fact that the land title is often given to the men of the household, and women are disempowered in the conversion to a crop like oil palm, which contrasts sharply with the role that they play in the Jhum system, and where the land also continues to remain with the community.
A positive future for the sustainability of crop diversity of Jhum agriculture is linked to women and youth in the local communities. Women have the power of knowledge and experience, and youth have the energy and drive to create new opportunities from this traditional practice. A dynamic new frontier can be secured by focusing on the positive aspects of shifting cultivation and bringing in an informed, collaborative, multidisciplinary approach that will create more efficiency, generate local entrepreneurship, and critically preserve the irreplaceable wealth of this millennia-old practice that has linked people to nature at the deepest level of survival, the nourishment of human civilization.